We are launching this week what we're calling our All4Ed State Policy Center. So this is building on our great state policy work, but this is, for our organization, a first of its kind repository of policy resources, model legislation, research, case studies, voices from the field, all around equity-centered state educational policy. And this is going to be growing year to year, but it is going live as we speak.
Welcome everybody back.
Hold on. All right, let's try this one more time. All right, I had to get myself together.
Welcome everybody back to the season finale of UnDisrupted. This is the end of season 7. Adam, we're still on the air. Remarkably, Lucky seven. Right, this is a great season. I was looking back at some of the podcasts we've had this year. What a great lineup of guys. This is gonna be this to me is my favorite season. I know I say that every season, but this one was my favorite season. Anything stand out to you this last season? What was a guest? Was there a guest that maybe like just brought it and you're like, wow, that was hot? Hot take, I should say. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, that we stayed on air during the writers and actors strike because apparently we don't write anything. We can't act. So, our SAG cards aren't valid anymore or whatever. So we made it through the strike. How about that?
I know. I was still waiting for mine to come in the mail. I was actually looking to see, did my SAG card get here yet? But yeah, to our brothers and sisters out there fighting the fight with the SAG stuff, we appreciate you. Sorry that we crossed the lines there, but we're not paid to be actors or writers. So as you could tell by this podcast, and if we were, it would probably
this is real.
This is real. Unlike one of the things they're fighting for. It's funny you should mention that. Is this the AI, the invasion of AI, which is really pretty much the story of 2023. Do you think we've reached the peak of the AI hype cycle yet? I mean, it's October 18th when we're recording this, 2023. Is this it? I mean, are we close to the peak? No. Or are we still just flying up?
No. We're definitely going up. The thing about it is the people who are talking about AI, like us and the people who are listening to our podcast, we're still a small segment of the population. So there's still a lot of room to go and places to go in this whole hype around AI. I think people who roll in these circles are familiar with it and utilizing some of these tools and are asking some questions. But if you go to your local Home Depot or Dollar General or CVS or whatever,
Buc-ee's,
and ask somebody about AI, Buc-ee's, Busey's. They're not going to have any idea what you're talking about. They just aren't in this space the way that we are in this space. So I think we're in the very infancy stages of the conversation around AI. And it's going to only get worse, apparently, even I think into the election cycle.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing that gets me.
More about it.
Yeah, I know. And we've got hopefully we'll still be on the air as of 2024. But I think about the 2016 election and all the social media influence that had on that election. I can only imagine, like you said, infancy. I mean, I think it's going to be a little more mature. It'll be a toddler probably by 2024. So we'll have the AI toddlers out there trying to figure out how to manipulate all that. And there's going to be all sorts of stories. And I already think this is going to be the case now. I mean, you can imitate voices, you can imitate people, you can imitate, there's so many things you do. It's only, I predict this, and we aren't doing our bold predictions yet, but I predict that then the next year that some student will get suspended or expelled or something for copying the principal or a teacher saying, hey, everybody, it's jeans day or whatever. Everybody can come to school with jeans on today or something like that. I think that's going to happen. It's getting better. But
yeah, so I was going to ask you, since we were talking about AI and we're contractually obligated to mention AI, what is, though, the coolest use of AI you've seen thus far this school year, product that you're excited about?
Man, there's so many. You threw this at me. I was like, I've got 50 in my head. Honestly, 50. Probably. I think the latest. I always go with what's just happened in the last week or two. And if you have those of you that haven't been in either Adobe or Canva in the last week, again, this is October of 23, there's a lot of updates to those platforms. Adobe basically moved all of their Firefly AI stuff from beta to permanent in the Adobe Express suite. Canva has basically made everything magic design, magic write, magic slides. And I think those two things, to me, those two seem to be ahead of everybody. in terms of where they're going game wise. And so I think it's just a matter of time before, other companies start to catch up. Microsoft is actually doing some pretty cool things. Copilot, I think you told me about that originally. So there's about 12. See how quickly that did. How about you? Is there a tool that you just like went, wow, that's pretty cool?
And for me, it's still not out yet. Is the stuff Microsoft's talking about with their Copilot, just seeing how it can streamline work. I think that's where the magic piece really lies, because people have seen the thing about the whole virtual assistant, where I can just say, hey, computer, book me an appointment next week to get my haircut. And it does this whole thing and calls for you and goes back and forth and looks at your schedule and makes that. Those are those kind of components that I think people want to look for, even when you're trying to deal with large data sets and kind of telling the computer, hey, I want to see this data presented this way, and then actually taking that data and doing that back end work for you. That's those features that haven't made it to the masses with AI that I think would really change the game, especially in school systems where you're dealing with large data sets. And let's be honest, all of us aren't data analysts. Very few of us are. Some of us probably struggled in that class or that section in our graduate or undergraduate studies in data analysts, data analytics.
I think it's interesting you say that too about the large data sets, because I think that large language models, of course, are the big thing this year, right? ChatGPT and Claude and Bard and all of that. I actually think small language models will be the next thing. And I just spoke with Richard Collada.
So you're saying size does matter with language?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it does in this case. So Richard Collada, we've had him on the show before. I had him on one of my other podcasts. I know you don't like me to mention those because it makes you jealous, but and he did mention, the ISTE is coming. Okay. Because it's you first, man. It's you first. It's always you. You were the first. Anyway, so he's got the stretch AI that's supposed to come out pretty soon, and it's basically doing what is called a small language, right? Where it's taking a small data set of ISTE and ASCD standards and saying, okay, this will be the only thing it pulls from, but it's going to continue to learn based on the questions that teachers are asking it. So I think there's going to be a lot more of that. I see universities moving to this too. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But speaking of large language or small language, yeah,
because I was going to say, like, because with that, it has me wondering about like original thought. When you have these things being created, when original thought, how does that look when you have people who are writing? We kind of flirted with that at the beginning about writing scripts, but books, content, information that's being created. What does that look like for an author? You are somebody who's written a few books, and actually you just have one that's coming out now. Oh, dare I say AI?
Yeah, of course. It's you dare away. Yeah, the learning evolution is the new era of AI in the classroom. A book that I wrote in 4 weeks, and a lot of people ask me like, "Hey, did you use AI to help you write it?" And the truth is, yeah, I used some AI. It did not write it for me though, and anyone who's been out there and used any of these tools lately have probably known that it doesn't really sound like a person when it writes. I mean, it doesn't sound like me. I've written this is my 8th book. My voice I have a unique way of how I talk and how I tell stories, and AI can't mimic that yet. And so for me, AI helped me with some of the examples that I use, and I put them in the book, and I even show like, here's where I used AI. So I call it out in the book because it's about AI. So it would make sense. Mm-hmm. But the cover was designed by AI. I mean, so there's even the foreword. I have 2 forewords, one from Thomas C. Murray, who you and I both know. In fact, it says it right now on the little thing we're recording on, because we're using his account without him knowing it. He wrote a foreword for me for this book. I know you wrote the foreword for my last book. And so just kind of tapped my friends on the shoulder and saying, hey, help me just describe what's happening in the book, and then let readers know about it. So to me, the human element is still a big part of it. Where are you at? Because I know that you signed a book deal. Where are you at? What's status of that? Because then you had a whole bunch of job changes. You work for this All4Ed company I've heard about. And
I know.
Where's the book, man? How are we doing? AI need to help you finish it?
No. We are getting very close. We're getting very close. My goal was to be finished by the end of the calendar year, and I think I'm going to be able to hit that mark. I'm not. I don't have the cranking them out every 4 weeks power that you have. I have not honed that ability yet. And the hardest thing that I found was initially just getting started. That's always the hardest component of anything, whether you're talking about a weight loss plan, doing your chores like cutting the grass. You just got to get out and make that start. The first piece of that, eating an elephant is the first bite or something like that. I don't know how many people eat elephants,
You're
but
pretty close.
yeah.
Something, yeah, about memory. I don't elephants have memory. No, I don't know. That's probably a wrong quote. Yeah, you just get it started, man. Just put it out there.
Yeah. So making some good progress right now. I had a few folks read over it, but the biggest thing is just making sure that what I want people to realize, with AI is it's not going to replace you, but if you don't start figuring out how to use it, then you will get replaced. It's going to be one of those, in my opinion, the people who know how to use it and are using it effectively, and those who don't use it at all, who may get left behind. Similar to just with any technology, because if you have people who aren't using technology in the classroom or technology any place, then you're going to run into those issues. And you don't have to be a coder, a data scientist, or a computer scientist. You just have to understand what you're doing and how to utilize those tools. If you're not using technology right now, you're probably not that efficient in your workspace in the realms of what we're talking about right now in education and in places of that nature. But even I just saw the garbage truck come pick up my trash a little while ago, and it was a robotic arm that grabbed the trash. There's no longer a guy hopping out the truck and doing that. That's all ran. And I was talking to some folks with our students, and they were saying they're getting to the point where that can even be automated, where the guy isn't telling it pick up this trash can. Is basically using the same kind of Tesla technology to scan the area and do all that stuff and pick it up automatically. So you can't tell me that you're going to be working in the Department of Sanitation and not understand how to utilize technology. So it's everywhere. You just got to figure it out and get comfortable in that space.
Yeah, and as they say with AI, garbage in, garbage out, just to tie into that other conversation you were just having. Yeah. So see, the trash analogy is there. Speaking of books, though, I know that, a lot of the conversation over the last couple of years, of course, has been on these lists of books that are being banned. And, I write about bias in my book, and I don't get me wrong, I was a little concerned when I wrote the chapter that on bias that, someone's going to look at it and go, oh, we need to get rid of this too. But the honest truth is we all have bias. The internet carries our bias. The AI designs and creates our bias based on what we already have. So there's nothing controversial about that. However, there is some controversy, and I noticed you posted something. Tell us a little bit about what you posted the other day about kind of the list of bans. There's some books that I've just surprised with.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and it's for this space that we're in, and very oftentimes folks over technology programs also often are over their library media centers. I know in the space I was in Newton County, that fell in my under my wheelhouse as well. But it's interesting because for years we've talked about providing our students with these mirror and window opportunities, opportunity to see themselves, opportunity to see others within within literature. But you're having now where people are limiting access to content. I think it's Scholastics. They're coming out with their book fair. Every kid looks forward to the book fair. As I tell my kids, no more pencils or slime or Chotsky stuff. Get a book. But schools are getting the option now to have a list of books that are, I think they have some kind of cute name for it, that's expressing their culture and heritage or whatever. You can eliminate those from your book fair. And there were books about the non-white Supreme Court justices that were on that list. There was a book about the Marvel character Black Panther that was on that list. That school could exclude from their book fair. So no controversial title there, no controversy in the book, but it deals with a character of color that could be eliminated. So it's really interesting that this is happening in 2023. But I want to make sure that our educators know that you're not alone in this category, in this conversation. Future ready librarians, we are on it. We are having conversations about some stances and things that we need to talk about, and even trying to talk about policies, what the policies should look like, and coming together with folks to write model legislation from the federal level and the state level with that. Because I know, I don't know about you, but I'm not an expert in state policies. I know different states. No. Different states come up with their own policies, and I'm sure they're very high functioning. I'm sure they can vote on speakers and all that stuff. But sometimes these different states need guidance and support.
If only we knew an expert, Adam, in that area. If only we knew somebody that had some sort of state government relations. If there's someone that we could just tap on and just call right now and say, we want a surprise guest right now on the show. Talk to us about all the stuff that's happening. Do you have anybody on your speed dial there, Adam, that we could call on?
I think I do on my wireless communication unit. I can call the director of state and government relations at All4Ed. I know her like that. I know somebody.
There she is.
That is the master of this. So coming to the show, we have Jenn Ellis, a friend of the show. We've had her on previously talking about the state work that they do. And All4Ed has some really amazing things happening right now in state government that she's going to be able to share with us.
Yeah, thanks so much, Adam. Thanks for having me on again. It's always great to be with you. One of the things we want to talk about today, we are launching this week what we're calling our All4Ed State Policy Center. So this is building on our great state policy work, but this is for our organization, a first of its kind repository of policy resources, model legislation, research, case studies, voices from the field, all around equity-centered state educational policy. And this is going to be growing year to year, but it is going live as we speak. So yeah.
That is amazing. Now you say going live, where can we find this? Where can we find all this?
Yeah, so it's going to be on the All4Ed website. We have our own web resource that's going to be launching and growing. However, we also have a new email address, State Policy Center at all4ed.org. That is a resource for any state policymakers, advocates, educators, anyone who's interested in learning more can actually reach out to that email and talk to us. The online repository is going to have resources anyone can use. It's free and open to the public. If you like the model legislation, you are free to just take it without asking us and use it in your states. That's what it's there for. However, if you want to have a conversation about adapting it to your state, if you want something similar, but it's not exactly what you need, or if you'd like to see us develop policies in a completely new area, reach out to that email. We'd love to have a conversation with you.
So let me ask you this: with this, with the State Policy Center, why? What was on your mind? You're like, okay, we got to have this. What made this happen right now for districts?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of people, when they think about policymaking, have the picture of our United States Congress in their head, which is a full-time legislature. Everybody works there and only there. They have a full staff that's developing ideas. But the reality is, for our state legislatures, that is just not the case. Most of our state legislatures, they are in session only a few months of the year. The people who serve there often do not work there full time. So sometimes your state senator might be going back to their job as a dentist after their session. They also do not have full staff. So even if they have great policy ideas they're excited about, they don't always have the time or staff or resources to fully develop them. So because of that, it can take years for some of these ideas to kind of percolate in the state, even if they're really good ideas. So what we realized through our technical assistance, which we've been providing to years for states, is we really need a more open format set of resources that offers state policymakers a full suite of things that they can just take and immediately use. So everything from talking points to the research to the policy ideas, but most importantly, the model legislation. They can actually take the language and they can introduce it in their session right away if they're interested. And again, they can contact us. We can work fast if they need some adaptation. But that was really what drove this forward, because as we know, our students can't wait. We have students in schools now. They keep getting older. They can't wait 3 or 4 years for an idea to be fully developed. So to the extent that we can help create a shortcut in that system by putting out the actual model policies, that's what we want to do. And we don't want people to have to wait to talk to us, so we're happy to talk to them. So the idea of actually providing this free and open resource online, that's where it came from. Yeah.
I got to ask the question because, we were talking about AI earlier, of course. So is there anything out there do you start to hear percolating? I mean, we've had the AI Bill of Rights. There's people meeting about that right now. So state policies, federal policies, anything you're hearing on the ground there about, what AI policy might look like, or is there going to be AI policy?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting AI policy right now. There is a high demand for it. It's something that we're looking at All4Ed right now, where we kind of want to be. I think a lot of it right now is almost being done in the hypothetical. So we have things like ChatGPT, and then people are trying to think, where might it go? Where might we need policy? And one of the things that I think is really important, particularly when we're talking about AI, is we need to be bringing educators, school and district leaders to the table on these policies, because they are seeing things in their classroom in real time. And as policymakers, a lot of the time, I think we're talking in like, oh, what if, or where could it go? But our educators are actually dealing with this today, how it's being used. And I think they have one of the best perspectives on where educational AI is going, because they're seeing how their students are utilizing it. They're seeing how they're utilizing it. And so one of the things that's been really important to us in the State Policy Center is bringing in that practitioner voice to hear about, where do we think we're going to need additional resources? Where do we think we're going to need additional policy? But I think an equally important question is, where do we not need policy? Because when we overdo policy, we can stop innovation. So it's this very delicate balance, right? We want to leave things open to innovate, to develop, but we don't want to leave things open to just like go absolutely wild. So we have to hit that balance. And that's what we're hearing a lot around AI. The conversations in the field are people trying to navigate between those two really difficult pools. And so we definitely are looking at that. We're definitely talking to people, and we're definitely going to be developing some policies in the future, which is exciting. But, all this is just a complete new world. So, yeah.
So thanks again for sharing all that great information with the listeners out here. And I have one more question for you. And you said this before, I'll make sure everyone hears it again. If I am listening and I want to get involved in this policy, whether it's getting rid of some policies, whether it's helping improve policy, or just trying to figure out why in the world we have this policy, how can I get involved with the State Policy Center at All4Ed?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first way that you can do it is just to head to our website. So it's the All4Ed website. State Policy Center now has its own part of that website, which is just all4ed.org/state policy center. So go there, check out the resources. But if you want to speak to us directly, that's State Policy Center at all4ed.org. And you're probably going to be talking to me directly, but go ahead and send into that mailbox, and you will get a response as quickly as we can.
And all those links and information will be in the description below. As the kids say, in the description below. Make sure you subscribe.
Subscribe and like. But seriously, appreciate you, Jenn, and everything, and all the work you guys are doing at All4Ed, and for making yourself available to states and districts for questions and all of that. So thank you for being a part of the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, Adam, we're going to wrap. We'll send Jenn off stage, which she had to stay backstage for a while, but I know she's going to have to go backstage for a little bit as we wrap up here.
Trying to figure out what in the world were those guys talking about half the time. Just like, what did I sign up for?
I sometimes wonder what we're talking about half the time. I always of course, my head goes to all these weird places when I'm thinking of state policy. It's like, can we make it a state policy that everyone has to listen to the #1 rated podcast with Carl and Adam?
#1, baby.
Not necessarily. That's right. Well, so a couple quick little updates here as we wrap up the season, y'all. Future ready events. I've noticed, Adam, you've been doing quite a few more of those. Tell us a little bit about what are some of the things you guys are doing? What's kind of on the horizon? Because I've seen you popping around different states, doing different events with folks that are future ready.
Yeah, really excited with two big main projects we've been working on the future ready side. We've been doing our innovation summits across the country. We did in Philadelphia. We were in Atlanta. See, here's the thing: when people aren't from a place, they say you're in a place, but you're really not. So it was called the Atlanta Innovation Summit. We were in Kennesaw. That ain't Atlanta. That's not even.
That's
close.
not Atlanta.
No.
Yeah.
You got to pack a lunch to make it to Kennesaw. But we were out in Cincinnati, Ohio. We were in LA, Seattle, heading to Vermont coming up. And with these innovation summits, it's really getting practitioners in the room together, working on solution-based, being a solution mindset with these problems that we're facing across our school district, whether you're talking about connectivity, sustainability of some of these initiatives that we were able to fund from ESSER funding. What does that look like? really trying to maximize your investment. And when I say maximize investment, when people talk about return on investment, we're talking about student performers. We're talking about student engagement, student success. How is that, man? How are you going to be able to measure that? And what does that look like when we have this whole college career readiness? So really tying all those concepts together around these forums. And also, we've been working on our cohorts. We'll be finishing up our Louisiana cohort right now. And this is just districts that are working on developing their future ready plan and really diving deep into each gear. So after they take their future ready assessment, figuring out where those gaps are, and then working together, hand in hand, trying to figure out how to really develop those plans using the best policies and best practices that are out there. So we can really lean on to our on the All4Ed org for all that research that we have. And then also we rely on resources from other organizations such as COSN, ISTE, CETA that's out there and really putting it in the hands of our folks. So I know I said a lot. Now, where are you going to be, Carl? Because I know you are all over the place as well doing some things.
Yeah. I'll be running around doing some things. I'll be at NICEgate, which is an amazing event up there in New York right before Thanksgiving. I believe you and I, the next time we're going to be in the same space will be FETC. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Should we bring the equipment, do the live show?
Oh, for shizzle.
Okay.
and you know what? Between now and then,
always
there could be a special episode. We could have a special episode too. You just never know. Yeah,
because Papa Elon was not on this episode, and Elon, as always, Mr. Musk, we invite you at any time, whenever you're ready. Your people contact our people. We'll put you on the show. We'll figure out a way to kind of tie it all into what we're working with here. But yeah, it's still out there, standing invite for Elon.
I really want to ask him because we know how powerful of a tool Twitter was in education over the past 10 years that folks have been really utilizing it in education to get the word out in the K-12 space. And I would just be curious to ask him, where does he see X going forward in that K-12 space? Does he still see it as something important, or is this just something else on his plan? Because I've heard rumors about them charging for X now for everybody, not just like the premium package plan or whatever, but for everybody. If that happens, that I believe will truly kill the platform. People will find an alternative that is free, because I don't think everybody's migrated to those other platforms yet. I think they're on there. I think a lot of people have accounts on all those, but I don't know how much they're using all those platforms.
Right. Blue Sky and Threads. And yeah, I think I need to go right now I'm going to go buy the domain X and EDU, because I imagine that'll be the Twitter version of it. So I'll just go ahead and buy that right now, see what happens. But that's a great question. And he will. So I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon, buddy. I know I've been a little under the weather for this show, but we'll, again, folks out there, we may have a surprise episode. You never know. There's always fun things that happen between now and the next time you hear from us. But this has been an amazing 7th season. Yeah.
I got to give you some get well tips from the community. So this is some things that we do. You want to get you some ginger ale. I don't know what it is, but ginger ale. Get you some Vicks, put it on under your nose, on your feet. Don't ask me, grandmama did the feet thing with some socks.
That does work actually. Yeah.
And some Robitussin or Tussin if you get the cheap kind.
Tussin. That made me cough and laugh. Thanks. And actually, I think, true story, I think my mom just showed up with a bowl of caldo. So those of you that know, caldo is of course it's a soup. It's of Mexican descent. The soup itself is not, but it's a Mexican culture, but it's a very, very good, like kind of, you put your face in it and let it kind of just get all that out of there. So yeah, thanks for the Vicks reminder. I'm going to go put that on my feet in a minute. But yeah. And on that note, folks, we thank you for joining us. And for our listeners out there, be sure to subscribe and give us a review. We'd appreciate it. We might even give you a shout out on a future show. This has been season 7 of the UnDisrupted Podcast, brought to you by All4Ed. He's Adam, and you can follow him on the X at AskAdam3. Still.
And he's Carl. He's Carl, and you can follow him at Mr. Hooker. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, we are better together.
And we are better undisrupted.